Hi sewing friends! So today I want to run you guys through two of my most iconic home furnishing sewing projects. So I showed this on my Instagram a couple of days ago and I had lots of questions, hence why I want to run you guys through it. So first one is this one. I love this cushion purely for the story that there is behind it. So I made this cushion about, oh God, it was probably like 5 years ago, right? And the story behind it is when I found this fabric, right? I was working at a fabric shop, right? That stocked all of these linens, right? All of these linen colors. And I was working there, and what a fabric store normally does when they have a new range of colors of a fabric that they stock is they cut out little swatches of it so that they can send it out to customers or different brands for them to like select the colors that they want of the fabric. So the company I was working for, the shop I was working for, did this with all of these new colors of linens that we got in. But then what happened is that some details were wrong, or the fiber content was wrong, or something was wrong with the swatches with the corresponding information that they had already sent out. So what they had to do is basically disregard all of these swatches and they chucked them in the bin, right? So I was working one day and I went to go throw something in the bin and I saw these perfectly beautiful swatches of linen just in the bin. And I was like, yoink, mine. And I was like, is this a mistake? Because like these are perfectly fine swatches. And it was just such a tiny misprint of the information. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, no, use them for something. So took them all home. And like, these are also colors I would never have picked out for myself for anything. But I think all together, they're just so beautiful. So I took them home that night and I just sewed them up into like just a basic square rectangular shape. And then they sat in my sewing studio for about like, no joke, like 8 to 10 months, not doing anything. And because I was like, I wanted to make a bag with them, but then I was like, I'm gonna have to fuse it and then we're gonna have to do all these things and what design do I want the bag to be? And eventually it was just like, nah, this is too hard. I'm just gonna make it into a cushion cover just to have in my studio. And it has followed me from one studio to the next, and now it sits in my living room on my couch. So that's the first one. Then the next one is this one, right? How cute is that? So the story behind this one is I am not a quilter, nor from the execution of these seams will I ever be a quilter, because look at that. Like, that ain't perfect, but that's okay. So the story behind this one is my mum, right? She brought over a pair of pants that she wanted hemmed, and they were these beautiful ochre toe wide leg pants. And I was like, oh my God, these are like the most beautiful pants I've ever had. So she wanted about like this much taken off the end of the hem. So I hemmed them, and it was like literally just this little scrappy piece of fabric, but I was like, I love this color so much that I started to think of like all these different ideas I could do with it. So I went through my fabric stash and found like a few other good corresponding fabric colors, and I eventually landed on this color scheme. So it's the ochre, the denim, and then the calico one here. So that is from my mum's pants. This one here, the denim, was actually from a jumpsuit that I made that was inspired by an outfit that was on an expansion pack for Sims, right? So I was playing Sims one night, saw this denim jumpsuit, and I was like, oh my God, I love that denim jumpsuit in this game so much. I need to make it in real life, but I'll show you guys that in another video. So, and then the calico isn't actually like the traditional thin calico that we use for toiles. It's actually a really thick, kind of like a cotton canvas. And I bought a whole bunch of this stuff to make a meditation pillow. And of course I never finished that. but I had heaps of this fabric left over and I was like, I need to do something with it. So I just started cutting up all of these fabric scraps and I just made this beautiful pillow. And it now sits also in my sewing studio and on my couch. And then I just backed it with some other linen, or heavyweight linen that was in the same color as my mum's pants. So I think that's quite sweet how like I made this and it was once all destined to be other things, but you can always find a use for your scrap fabrics. Like I have so many scrap fabrics all around my house that have been made into other projects. Like you can also use like, so here I use like the bigger pieces of scrap fabric. And then you can also use smaller pieces of scrap fabric as stuffing, right? So there's endless uses for your scrap fabric. When I cut something out, what I do is if it's like a big enough pieces, I like stash them all together and I put them back into my fabric stash. But if they are like smaller, like little scrappy pieces, I put them into another bag. So eventually I can use them as stuffing. So that's what I love about sewing, is that you can make something that was intentional and that gets worn and it's great. And then you make something that's unintentional, but you love equally as much. Because, you know, like I look at these two pillows every single day on my couch and I love them. And, you know, like these will be with me for the rest of my life, I think. And I love how I can actually repurpose anything that I've ever made, because, you know, like my denim jumpsuit that I made with this fabric, one day will get worn down and it will need to be fixed or remade into something else. And I can do that because I can sew. And, you know, with this, it ain't perfect, but I love it. And one thing I learned when doing this is the thicker the fabric, the trickier the little seams are. And, you know, I started out cutting out all these shapes and everything at quite a big size, but of course with the seam allowance, they get really small really quickly. And I just love that. So if you ever start sewing something, and I've got a lot of these projects, right, where I started sewing something and then I like tried it on and I was like, oh no, I think I wasted this fabric on this. No, I didn't. It's just redirecting me into something different and it is destined to be another project. So that is my two favorite homeware projects that I made and the stories behind them. So if you like that, I'll show you some more some other time. I really want to show you guys the little whales that I make, the little Wilbur the Waste Free whales, but we'll do that in another video. And welcome to my couch also. So yeah, this is where these live. This is my background for a bunch of the videos that I will soon be making. And I did a little DIY project over here the other day where I hung a bunch of plants. If I just swivel you, look, ain't that cute? Ain't that cute? So yeah, I will love you and leave you until next time. Thank you.